Hello everyone, welcome to this little color and chat. I thought that I would start on a piece in Johanna Basford's Worlds of Wonder. If you saw my first video, you'll know that this book is one that I've been working on for a very long time. It contains a lot of pieces that I have been working on since I began my coloring journey. Some are whips, some are never to be completed. But I have a lot of pages in here that I really want to color, but I have been too afraid to do so. This is one I've had my eye on for a while, and I thought that maybe I would start this video by letting you get to know me a little bit. So I will be coloring this page as I normally do, say I had no audience and I was alone and I was just doing this for myself. I probably won't get through the whole thing because I'll be chatting and I'll be, walking you through some things, but I'm gonna try to get you, give you an idea of what my life is like and what my coloring style is like. So I'm going to do this completely unscripted. I'm not, I didn't plan anything ahead other than which picture I was going to color and the fact that I'm going to be using Prismacolors. So right now my Prismacolor collection is, it's complete. I have all 150 plus a blender plus, whatever else I need. But I'm running a little bit low on certain pencils. For example, this here, my Sienna Beige 1080. I'm going to be using it very sparingly if I need to because this is the last one I have and I haven't had a chance to go out and get a spare anytime recently. I've got a whole stack. These are all the colors I need to replace currently. As you can see, Sienna Beige is a bit of a priority. But I've got quite a few that I need to replace as I use them so frequently, but hopefully we'll get through this without too much hassle in that sense. As you can see, I've got my blocker page underneath just to protect the following pages. And so you'll notice that my style is wing it. I tend to prefer to just start laying color down and see where it goes. Obviously, I have a basic knowledge of color theory and I have an idea as to where I want to take things often, but it starts with me just picking one aspect and then I grow everything from there. So I thought the easiest thing to start with on this would be the bottom half with the greens. I don't know what I'll do with the background of it yet, but to start, we'll start with the florals, the greens, and kind of get that going, and then I can play the top half off of that since this is sort of a theoretical mirrored version of itself. So I have a lot of greens spread out. I have a lot in my tiny basket, as you can see. Try to use these little guys up before I start breaking into the brand new ones I have sitting waiting for me. But I have those all sitting ready. I have my Prismacolor hand sharpener as well as my Doll 133, my Prismacolor eraser should I need it. And I have a couple of pencil extenders because, they get really short. And I know some people really frown on this, but I do sometimes use the colorless blender. I just find that sometimes I get a more true color. It kind of brings out the brightness of the pigment. So I do enjoy using that once in a while. It's funny because when I first started, I didn't like using it. And I just have a brush here to brush off any excess dust if I need to. It's just a cheap makeup brush, but it surely works. So with that, I am going to get started. I'm going to try not to just smack my lips like that. I noticed in my last video that I tend to do that, but I'm going to do my best to try and refrain from doing that for you guys because I know some of you are probably really annoyed by that. So I'm going to try to be conscious of that. So I'm going to walk you through the process that I go through when I'm trying to color a page just on my own, just for my own fun. So I do have a chart I made for myself, and this compares the Prismacolors as well as the Artex pencils because those are the two I use the most. I am going to zoom you guys in just a little bit just so that you can see things a little better for right now. I'll zoom you in even further when I get to actually coloring, but for right now, so I'm not quite into these greens just yet. I want to do some dark greens to lay down the base with. So the bottom color is my Prismas. So I want to do these bright. I don't want to go too natural. Let's do something really fun. So I'm thinking if we pull out some things like probably peacock green, which I believe this is 907. Yeah, it's really hard to tell in these little guys, eh? And if we can, oh my goodness, that one's tough. 918, I think, or 908. Yeah, that's 908 dark green. And let's pull out 909 grass green. There we have it, 909 grass green. True green, interestingly, is a color that I do not use that frequently. I don't know why, I just have a hard time incorporating it. Maybe because it's so bright or something that you can't see, it's all worn off, but that's obviously true green. I mean, anybody who's used Prismas knows what true green looks like. And then we'll just pull out some random lighter greens. So we've got light green, we've got lime peel, spring green, pale sage, gray green light. I know I'm doing a lot here, but you know, as I said, I have a hard time choosing until I actually get into the coloring. So, and sap green light. All right, that's, what have we got here? Chartreuse. Yeah, let's pull out chartreuse as well. Okay. So now that we've sort of got an idea of our greens that we're gonna start with, let me just adjust some things and bring you guys in a little further. Sorry about the moving around here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to start with my very darkest green here. That would be 908. Don't worry, after this video, I'm going to learn how to put all these up on the screen. Sorry that this video I probably won't. If I do, congratulations to me, but if I don't, please forgive me. So there I go again with the lip smacking. All right, let's try not to do that. So oftentimes I make the mistake of starting over on the right side. I am right-handed, so it would be better for me to start on the left side. So I'm going to try to do that this time. With this really dark green, I think I'm going to start with these little leaves over here. So I start with a medium pressure. And I'm going to assume the light source is coming from the bottom, straight down on top. So let's start with some nice dark green on the bottom of these. Light pressure, medium pressure, depending on exactly how thick I want to get it. I want to make sure I'm lifting off as I'm getting closer to the light source. I know these videos are going to kind of probably be somewhat Rachel Henderson style, which I promise I'm not trying to copy her. It's just she seems to really have a similar method to the way that I wanted to film, which is doing small pieces and, you know, kind of going as she feels like it. And I'm a really big fan, actually, so I'm happy to have you guys here with me if you're into her as well. I'm sure she's far more experienced and talented than I am, but this is just me showing you what I do myself, how I like to color. I'm not claiming to be an expert of any kind. I'm not claiming to know any professional techniques or be able to teach anybody anything. I'm simply giving you insight as to how my pictures get to be the way they are. So I have been coloring for many, many years. I started coloring, you know, back when I was very, very young. I've always had a passion for it. I've always loved drawing, coloring. The drawing never panned out. I never ended up being a great drawer. I can do it to save my life, I suppose, but it's definitely not my strong suit. So I much prefer to color other people's work, because that's where my strength seems to have come from, especially since discovering much better materials, such as these lovely Prismas. I chose to use Prismas today because I'm the most familiar with them and I will have to fumble the least to find the colors I need. Because I'm not planning this ahead, it's a lot easier to sort of have an idea and not have to go all constantly testing them to see what's going to fit best. So after that, I think we'll go into, maybe we should do these little guys here, you think? So with that, I will use the parrot green. Happens to be pre-sharpened, so that's a plus. Because of the way she's put the seam here, I think I will work with that and go darkest to lightest from inside out. I find, especially in these kind of larger, gappier pieces, that can be a little difficult to not get any streaking, but I find the key is to just layer, layer, layer. Add a little pressure as you're going towards the darkest area. Keep a little bit of a gap towards the lightest area. And there's the cat in the background, if you can hear her. We have two right now. We have Phthalo and we have Peanut. Both are really adorable girls, but a little weird. All the animals in our house are weird. We have quite a few of them. I'm sure in future videos I'll be able to talk more about them, but for now I kind of want to try to stick to the art style just a little bit. As you can see, sometimes in these larger pieces, it's actually nice when the pencil dulls down just a little bit. When it's not quite so sharp, you can get a kind of a softer touch. I try to keep it to as few colors as possible when blending. I know Karen from My Colorful Country Life, she's the exact opposite, and she's constantly trying to add as many colors as she can possibly get in there, and kudos to her for that. I personally have a really rough time doing that. I struggle pretty considerably with it. I find that if I can keep it to a couple of colors, my life's a little easier. So this next one, we're going to use grass green. And we'll go into these leaves here. So I'm going to follow the same pattern. I'm going to try to pull it out from the center. I'm going to go in each section, darkest to lightest, just gently letting off the pressure as I get closer to the edge of the leaf. Sometimes I struggle just a little bit when I get closer to these tips, like I'm really not sure what to do. Here it's easy, you just kind of make it a little darker, it looks a little shadowy, you know? But here there's no real end to it, so you kind of gotta just lightly fill it in and hope you find a point that looks natural to end it. Doesn't always turn out perfect, but do your best. You can darken up some areas if you have to, just add a little bit more gradient. And you move on, do the next one. See there, I kind of overshot it a little bit, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Especially that back leaf doesn't have to be perfect, right? You can see I'm starting with like a medium pressure. And lightening off to pretty much as light as is possible, barely touching the pencil to the page by the time I get to the edge. Sorry about the cats in the background, they seem to have started playing. You can always go over and add more color, but it's much more difficult to remove it once you've put it down, so always err on the side of caution and go a little lighter than you need to. As I was saying, there I go, smacking again, sorry guys. As I was saying earlier, I can remember coloring from a really young age. I remember going to my mom's aerobics classes when I was a kid. She used to teach aerobics, a couple in a row usually, so she would bring along coloring supplies for me to do in the background, and I remember, you know, having my Lion King coloring book and what have you with me, and that was always really fun. All right, so I think I'm gonna move on to my true green now. And I'm gonna use this alongside this really dark green, I think, because that'll make a nice little contrast. So again, I'm gonna go over the dark green really lightly. I find that when you've already got a base layer of something else, even if you go really lightly with the next layer, it picks it up a little bit more strongly. So I'm doing like a light, not like an ultra light, not as light as, say, as I'm feathering off at the edges here, but pretty light. Like, you don't need a lot, you just need enough to put the pigment down. You can almost go over everything with it at this pressure. And that's the easy part. Kind of go just a little darker on the edges here. Then I think to go along with perhaps light green to go along with Parrot. Just go around the edges. Again, still light pressure, it picks it up so well. So I'm hoping that with this, between my Instagram and the YouTube, I'll be able to get a bit of following. Not that I really care about that so much, it's just I want to become more of a part of the community, you know? I feel a little bit like I'm late to the game. So it'd be really nice to get to know some of these amazing colorists that I'm seeing doing all this work and putting out these amazing videos. So I'd really like to see what it's like to be a part of that community and to share my work and to share ideas and to, you know, pick up more tips and tricks that maybe I've missed over time. And what do you think with this grass green? Do you think we should do spring green? Or what do you think, chartreuse? See, and this is a normal process for me. Just sitting here and thinking about it is half the game. Like, I tend to find myself constantly just sitting and staring at my pages and thinking about what it is exactly that that needs to be done in order to make the look that I'm looking for. I don't think I want to go as bright as chartreuse. I think maybe I'll do a 3-layer. Maybe I'll try it and see. If it doesn't work out, I can always just do a 2. So let's do a lime peel as the next layer. And I'm going fairly light pressure here. layering out to pretty much minimal light out at the edges, just like usual. Again, my only goal is to get the pigment down on the paper. I find myself not struggling too badly to chat and color at the same time. You'll notice I'm more color than chat. But I also don't find it distracting, so that's nice. So I'm going to go back over this just a little bit, just to kind of blend that dark and that medium color a little more. And we'll do the same on these guys over here. Again, focusing more on the center, trying not to get too close to the outside edges because you want to leave a little space for the third color. Again, I'm not saying this is the most realistic coloring method. It's just the one that I feel goes best with this particular illustration. I love Johanna Basford's work. She really is what got me into all this adult coloring stuff. Now I find I look at her pages differently than when I first started. It feels like a completely different art style than it did when I began. Also, her books have changed over time as well. You know, they're not the same art as, you know, they were in the beginning. Secret Garden is quite different from Lost Ocean, and Lost Ocean is quite different from Rooms of Wonder, if you know what I mean. So it's very interesting. Next, I'm going to use my chartreuse. I am going to sharpen it, so pardon me. There we have it. Nice and sharp in my doll. And I'm going to start on the outside using like almost a medium pressure because we've already got so many layers down. I'm not going to bother going into the center too much because I want to focus on those other two layers in there. I want this mostly to be the outer layer. Again, this is kind of a light to medium pressure, more on the medium side. I think that everybody's version of light, dark, and medium are all kind of subjective, but I think we all have our own ideas as to what that means and what it means for us in our personal styles. There. So there's the 3 sets of leaves. The only thing missing here is obviously the center of the leaf. I think I'm going to leave that until I have everything blended, and I'll decide what center goes in there. At that point, I'm going to readjust my underpage there because it's starting to shift. And for this, I am going to use my colorless blender because there's so much white space left over, and I don't want to waste the pigment in my Prismas covering and burnishing that up. So I'm going to use the pencil. But yeah, if there's anything you guys want to see from me, you gotta let me know down in the comments, right? You gotta kind of point it out, ask questions, let me know if you want me to film anything in particular. I'm not great with this filming technology thing, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not my forte. I have the technology available to me, I just have to learn how to use it better. Editing and all those kinds of things, not really something I ever learned, so I'm learning late in life. See, a lot of people say that using the blender is cheating. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's just a different method of doing things. And for somebody who doesn't have a ton of money like myself right now, I find that the blender is just a way to help reduce the amount of pencils you're going through, because it takes very little effort and about a medium pressure to cover the whole area and give it a really nice, clean burnish and blend. Here's where it gets a little trickier because we're moving into tinier spaces, but it still is the same basic concept. You're just gently, sorry, I'm blocking the light a little bit with my arm there. Just gently moving the pigment around and softening the paper to cover any white spaces and truly bring out the strength of the pigment. Try as hard as you can not to get into those white spaces that you haven't decided what to do with yet, because the blender will cause them to not hold the pigment quite as well. Blender is your last step. You don't want to be using it willy-nilly in between your layers. It will change the texture of the finished product. But yeah, if you guys want to see any of the other books I have, the other illustrators I have, any other completed pages, if there's anything you want to see me color and do a color along or a color and chat, let me know. I haven't really gotten into doing buddy colors yet because I don't really have a schedule as per se. I tend to, as my profile and my description say, I'm chaotic. I have a hard time at this moment in my life keeping up with schedules. I find things just change too much. So I don't want to disappoint anybody by saying I'm going to do a buddy color and then not being able to complete it. But it is something I'm considering for the future, so if somebody's cool with disappointment, maybe they'll be my buddy color partner. All right, so there's that. Based on that, I'm thinking that we want to fill in these center pieces with something bright, right? Something that's going to kind of work with that outscape there. So if we were to do, maybe if we just use the chartreuse and blended it out just lightly. I'm not going all the way to the edges. I'm just adding a little bit of it. Go. And then using our gray-green light, finish it off. And in this case, I will allow the lightest pencil to do my blending for me. I don't feel the need to pull out the blender for this, because the lightest pencil tends to really drag the color around. It's quite different than doing two dark colors or medium colors. I find the light colors, whites and gray-green, gray lavender, deco yellow, you know, all those really light highlight colors, they work almost as well as far as dragging the pigment around and blending goes. There. So there's 3 different leaves that I've done on this particular page. I don't want to drag this out too long, it being my first color and chat. But yeah, so go ahead and hit a like on this if you thought it was helpful, or if you want to see more from me, make sure you check out my first video. And thank you for watching this, and I hope to hear from you in the comments. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your coloring day.